Our first session of the day is the sensory code, decoding design through data and emotions, with Mina Krenke, Global Sector Director of Interiors with HKS. Welcome, Mina.
Thank you, Kate. So, Lucia, our story. The crowd is cheering. The light is roaring in the stadium. The stands are moving. However, Lucia has her hands on her ears. She is stressed. She has PTSD. There are a series of individuals that deal with multisensory issues. 1 out of 5 individuals in public spaces deal with trauma with intense sensory components. How do we deal with that in our society as designers? You think about Lucia and what she's dealing with, and you think about our society today. Multisensory components are things that we are thrilled to experience. We thrive to have those components in our lives sometimes, but people like Lucia that struggle with this, how can we help them? And we think a lot about the level of inclusivity and spaces that are struggling to give people like her components and experiences that others can have, but Lucia can't have. So what if we could create environments that could help Lucia, that could breathe with Lucia, that could work with her nervous system differently, that could help her attend that stadium and help her heal through allowing her to have the same heartbeat that she's struggling with. Well, how do we affect the lighting, the acoustics, and all of the kind of sensory components in these environments? Well, we can. A lot of these components have to do with really affecting those sensory components, and we have done that. In a recent stadium in Texas, we were able to create a decompression zone for people like Lucia. And in these environments, individuals like Lucia can approach these environments. These spaces are able to give her a hug. They're able to give her the moments, able to adjust the lighting. There are stadium sections that allow her to adjust the decibels in those environments. The sensory code, decoding design through data and emotion. So my name is Mina Krenke. I work for HKS. I'm the Global Sector Director for our Interiors Group. But if you really think about society today and how we really thrive on these kind of dialectic of two different emotions, we think about the really multisensory components, but then we think about the spaces that we also crave that are very calm and natural components that we seek. We go out in nature and we really seek. How many of you guys in the audience have the Calm app on your phone? So if you really think about, there's 4.5 million Americans that use the Calm app. And that's just in the recent year that those individuals have purchased that Calm app. And that really tells a lot about our society right now. And people are using that app because we're craving that level in any aspect of creativity, any aspect of allowing our brain to reduce that kind of stress level. We need that in our lives right now. The serotonin levels, we need to increase them, but the cortisol levels in our body need to be decreased. Then you also think about Instagram and how much we crave those things. How many of you guys watched the 3rd season of White Lotus? Okay. All right, so Mike White actually uses a sensory narrative in his cinematography. He uses sensorial storytelling to allow us to almost become addicted to watching His B-roll actually provokes all of your senses to allow you to get immersed into the story. So as designers, are we really, I guess that's the true call to action, are we really using all of our senses to provoke a true emotion in all of us to create a deeper connection and emotion to the spaces we're designing? It's a big question. Sensory intelligence. You know, I want to just quickly define it because it's so important for all of us. Like, are we really capturing the data through, thank you, biometrics and data analysis the way we should be? There are so many companies out there, iMotion, Crowd IQ, that allows us to capture those biometrics and those data points that we really need to be able to capture the deep data. So I want to make sure that we really are able to do that by all those levels of human behavior. And then also really think about all of those senses. Are we emotionally mapping all of those senses when we're designing? So there's a level of, like, I think, environmental psychology that all of us understand as designers, but there's also that kind of data points with the biometrics, our heart rate, really understanding that nervous system, and this kind of sensory intelligence. So all of these layers actually allow us to have a deeper component in this idea of decoding. Designing zones that are emotionally engaged and this idea of dwell time. I think this is really important because I think all of us, as we strategize and really think about our spaces, there's this thought process of allowing people within our environments and how long they actually spend time in our spaces. If people are truly connected within our environments and they want to linger, a lot of times our clients tell us, why? I love this space, but I don't know why. So why are they lingering? This is a space that we dreamed about. Actually, Lauren in our audience is one of our designers of these environments. But one of the ideas in this space is, what if the artwork above the bar, the kinetic light fixture, actually moves as the individuals speak louder in the space? So if we really think about the decibels in the space and people are super energized within the environment and this culinary delight, that the kinetics of that light fixture is moving. So the space gets really excited. And then think about the light fixture at those individual tables. And the people get to participate. So the energy at that table and the light actually changes as the mood changes within that table. So at their first course, it might be really bright. But as the night goes on, the light actually changes. So you're actually changing the light at the table. You might be even changing the sensory of the mood at the table. So you're talking about, we talked about the Calm app, right? And this craving for soundscapes. But also think about how that soundscape can actually affect the evening and actually the courses of the meal being served. So this emotional engagement and really thinking about dwell times within environments can also be predicted and somewhat, if you think about, we're doing all this data collection and we really still want to create an organic connection through all of these environments, but at the same time, really provoking the emotion. So I do think there's quite a nice balance between sensorial thinking and emotional connection, but I do think there's something to be said about really this level of curation we're talking about. This part really gets me excited because we did talk about Lucia and her struggles, but there's this exciting part about a stadium design. And I think, the two companies I mentioned to you guys about IQ Crowd and really thinking about eye movement and how people actually move through these spaces, wayfinding is incredibly important. If we're talking about Lucia really struggling to move through these spaces, we're also talking about people getting really excited in these spaces. What do they see? What do they feel when they move in these stadiums? And the excitement level. We recently changed the temperature of lighting in these spaces. And if you change the temperature from 3,000 to 4,000, it actually affects the way people are feeling energized in a stadium environment. So you can imagine these companies that are studying crowd control in these environments are actually also studying the way people move through these spaces. What are they focused on? What are they smelling? So this idea of really scent in these environments are not just affecting their mood, but are actually affecting their purchasing concepts, right? So people actually purchase more, and they think about purchasing more when they smell things they like. So I think there's something to be said about really affecting, the economical value of what we do and how we can help our clients in different aspects of thinking about the economical value of the sensory components as well. This gets me really excited too, and I think we don't realize how much as designers we're design influencers. Cultural relevancy. And it's not just really understanding who you're designing for, but it's really understanding the subcultural components, right? I think, designing in Atlanta and designing in Chicago and designing in New York, all very different, right? But what are all the nuances of all those unique places, right? And I think that's what's really getting us excited about all this data collection that we're doing. It's really about we must be designing for this very unique mirror in our culture. And I think our designers are really getting excited about this level of connection, right? And I think this spotlight that we're putting on culture is really important. And I think a lot of our designers are really looking at what is the relevancy of the uniqueness of place? And I think that's where we're meeting our clients at those places, and we're meeting our users at that place. And I think it's never been this unique before, is that, how deep are we going? I used to get really frustrated about thinking about when you're designing for clients in their resi environments, because I thought, oh my God, you have to go so personal and you have to go so deep. But that's where we are in the world. When you're designing, a hospital or a corporate environment, we're going so deep with our users. And I think that's actually what makes those spaces so personal and so special. So I think this cultural relevancy piece is really in tune with this idea of sensory components and emotional connection. And this idea of research and discovery is so important and thought for ethnographic studies, biometric data, and emotional mapping. I think these are the three components that just become a key aspect of this idea of data collection. And then cultural attuned, right? This idea of really staying with this idea of, it's almost like a meter, right? You have to have this idea of local values and really understanding all of those aspects of making it absolutely attuned with the rituals and the community and the brand. And I think really understanding that to the level that one size doesn't fit all, the neurodiversity component of it, and really having that cultural expression also becomes really important with the sensory components. I think W Hotel has been doing this a lot, is instead of a key card at their hotels, they've been doing the biometric thumb entry. And I think that starts really talking about this idea of, can I really attune the room with the individual? And I think, how do we do more real-time emotional gathering with data? And I think this modular aspect of emotional regulation is really an intriguing component. I think a lot of people are hesitant with sharing that much information. But I think for us, if we start thinking about having the space really speak with us, we're thinking a lot recently about the future of patient rooms. And I think that has a lot to do too with can the room heal with me? Can the space care for me? And I think that's a really interesting concept, because we objectify our spaces a lot. We talk about the personality of the environments we're talking about. And if people want to feel connected to the environments we have, they have to feel like the space is caring for us. If you think a lot about Suri in the room with us, Suri cares for us. Suri talks to us. And I really do believe this idea of the room having this personality, having a presence, and having the ability to take on the form, to have data about us, to be able to stimulate the idea to change the light temperatures, to change and care for us in a deeper way through sensory technology, I think could be very incredibly impactful, and is the way we should be thinking about design. And the last thing I want to just mention, and I think our clients are talking a lot about return on investment and our value as designers. But I really believe in this idea that the more and more time we spend with our clients after our spaces are built, and that we're able to self-report on the things that we're able to affect, this idea of net emotional impact can be so impactful. And I think we need to really be able to calculate this idea of return on emotion. Because the truth is, the future of design is being felt. And I want to just do a major shout out to our colleagues at HKS, Upali Nanda and Deborah Wingler and Susan Chang and Jeff Cabot, our experienced interior designers, Tony Laporte as well. Like, we've got some amazing people that are really jamming on this idea of emotional design and sensory design. And I think what makes it so intriguing is that, you know, we all come into these environments and we really, really feel connected to certain things. And I think we're going to continue to feel that way. And I think there's a value in that. And we cannot forget, as interior designers, we have to realize that that's our power. Our power is our creativity, and our power is this idea that we have the ability to connect our clients to space. And this return on investment is this idea that, just like I mentioned in the beginning with Lucia, she feels like if the space can breathe with her and has a pulse, and we can give our users that pulse with us, and the space has that level of connection, then the future is really about design that has a pulse. So the design is really about this idea of feeling. So thank you guys, appreciate it.